The sun had nearly slipped behind the jagged Arizona mesas when Luke Hartley spotted movement near the riverbed. After days of riding alone with barely any water and only his horse, Ironfoot, to rely on, he was alert for danger. At first he thought it might be bandits, or maybe a lost traveler, but as he approached, he saw an Apache warrior slumped beside an exhausted pony. The warrior's shoulder was wrapped in a makeshift bandage, stained dark from the long ride. Even wounded, the young Apache rose slowly when he noticed Luke, raising both hands in a gesture that was cautious but calm. His legs trembled, as though he had been standing too long without rest. Luke dismounted, keeping his palms open so the warrior wouldn't feel threatened. He could see the pony was beyond saving. Its breathing was shallow, its eyes dull. The Apache man, barely older than Luke, seemed to understand the truth too, though he tried to stand tall. Luke rummaged in his saddlebag and took out his last canteen. "You need this more than I do," he said, offering it. The warrior hesitated, then drank carefully, as if each sip mattered. "My name is Sani," he said after catching his breath. His English was rough but clear. "My horse is done. My people wait for me. I cannot reach them now." He looked at the ground as if ashamed to admit weakness. Luke glanced at Ironfoot, strong, steady, almost like a partner rather than an animal. The idea of giving him up hit Luke hard. That horse was everything he had left. But looking at Sani, wounded and alone in a desert that didn't forgive weakness, Luke felt something shift inside him. "Take him," Luke said quietly. "You'll make it home if you ride now." Sani stared in disbelief. "A man's horse is his life." "Maybe," Luke said, "but sometimes it ain't the only thing." With shaking hands, Sani mounted Ironfoot. Before leaving, he leaned down and touched Luke's shoulder lightly, a gesture full of meaning, even without words. "My people will remember what you have done." Then he rode into the darkness, leaving Luke alone by the river with nothing but his blanket, a fading fire, and the strange comfort of knowing he'd done the right thing. He didn't expect anything in return. He didn't expect anyone to come back. But far out in the desert, the Apache had already begun preparing a response that would change Luke's life by sunrise. Cold morning light crept over the riverbank, waking Luke with a shiver. He had slept lightly, half expecting coyotes or passing drifters, but what he heard instead was the rhythmic thumping of many hooves. At first he thought he was dreaming. Then he sat up fast, heart kicking against his ribs. Surrounding him in a wide half-circle were Apache riders, dozens of them, silent, disciplined, their horses breathing clouds into the crisp morning air. Their paint was bright in the dawn light, their posture straight as arrows. Luke stood slowly, hands visible, trying to understand what he was seeing. A single rider stepped forward, older than the rest. His braided white hair fell past his shoulders, and his face carried a calm authority that made everyone else seem younger. He dismounted with steady, deliberate movements. Luke swallowed hard, unsure if he was about to be thanked, judged, or punished for stepping into Apache matters the night before. "Cowboy," the elder said in measured English, "you gave your horse to my son." His voice was neither angry nor soft, but solid like a river stone. No Apache forgets a gift given in true spirit. Luke blinked, stunned. Before he could speak, another rider trotted forward, Sani. He sat tall on Ironfoot, who had been brushed, cleaned, and decorated with fresh beadwork. The horse looked proud, not like an exhausted animal, but like a hardened champion ready for a new day. Sani dismounted and held out the reins with both hands, offering the horse back. "You saved my life," Sani said. "But my father says one life is worth more than one horse." Luke frowned slightly. "What does he mean?" The elder chief turned and lifted one arm. A sharp whistle came from behind the line of riders. Suddenly the formation split open, revealing an astonishing sight. A long rope line stretching across the ridge, holding 50 thoroughbred horses, sleek and powerful. Their muscles shifted under glossy coats, and their ears flicked attentively at every sound. Luke barely breathed. He had seen ranch herds before, but nothing like this. Every horse looked trained, disciplined, and valuable beyond anything he'd ever owned. "These are yours," the chief said simply. "Gifts of honor. Use them to build a life, to start a ranch, or to trade as you wish." A man who gives from the heart deserves abundance in return. Luke felt dizzy. Yesterday he had one horse. Today he had a future. Surrounded by 50 thundering hooves, he mounted Ironfoot again. Realizing he was no longer just a drifter, he was someone the Apache themselves had chosen to honor. Luke rode with the Apache toward their village, the 50 thoroughbreds trailing behind like a river of muscle and motion. The closer they came, the more the land opened into a sheltered valley dotted with lodges, smoke rising in thin spirals into the afternoon sky. Children paused from their games to stare wide-eyed at the cowboy arriving with their warriors. Women tending fires looked up with quiet curiosity. Luke felt the weight of every gaze, but none of it felt hostile, only observant, like they were trying to understand the man who had given away his only horse in the dead of night. Sani guided him through the village with pride. "My people wanted to meet you," he explained. "Most men would have ridden past me. You did not." Luke didn't know how to respond. He'd never thought of himself as anything special. He simply couldn't leave a man to die alone in the desert. But here, surrounded by a community that moved together like a single heartbeat, his small act seemed to carry a meaning far bigger than he ever intended. Throughout the day, Luke learned about the horses the Apache had given him. Skilled handlers showed him their methods: calm hands, steady breathing, patience instead of force. They spoke to the animals in low, gentle tones. Luke had broken many horses in his life, but this was the first time he understood how much trust mattered. By mid-afternoon, he could guide an unfamiliar stallion with just a hand on the neck and a shift of his weight. The connection felt closer to partnership than ownership. As the sun dipped low, painting the horizon in gold and red, the chief invited Luke to sit beside the central fire. The flames cast long shadows across the ground as the village settled into quiet evening rhythms. After a long pause, the chief asked, "Now that you have 50 horses, what will you do with them?" Luke stared into the rising sparks. "I used to dream of owning a ranch," he said finally. "A place where folks could work honest and live decently. I lost everything on the trail, but maybe this is a second chance." The chief nodded. "A man is not measured by what he keeps, but by what he is willing to give. You gave freely. Now build something worthy of that spirit." Before Luke departed the next morning, Sani rode up beside him. "If you ever need us," he said, "follow the canyon north and light 2 fires. We will come." Luke rode away with 50 thoroughbreds behind him, and a new purpose burning in his chest. The world felt wide again, full of promise. And as he crossed the valley, he understood that his life had changed not by luck, but by a single choice made in a lonely desert night.